All right. Good to see you all.
Hello, hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Elena.
I missed you last week.
We missed you too.
Yep, we did.
We did.
I loved catching the replay, though, you guys. It was so fun to listen to, and so literally the whole time I was like, I want to say. It's a good practice just to sit back and listen, though, so it kind of forced me.
Well, is there anything you want to add now?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Hey, I'm trying to, there's just so much. I mean, and it's hard for me to sort of remember from that conversation to the WhatsApp chat, but there's been so much that I've been so looking forward to talking with you all. I really remember leaving that conversation with this feeling of like this desire to just keep focusing on what makes me my best. Got into and talking about parenting, and like it just kept coming to my mind. And Dean, this was in my mind, and then at some point you just said it, and I was like, yeah, there it is. Like, it doesn't matter so much what we say to our children, it's who we be, right? It's how we live. And I just left listening to that meeting. I do to up, right? Like, how do I get myself so that my girl
You're a
version
little,
of myself. You know,
Elena, you are a little garbled. I don't know if that's something that is just going to be, but this sounds like something I want to hear.
Yeah.
You're back.
You're back.
It's back. I wonder if it's a distance from my device. Yeah, I was just really inspired. Let's come closer. I was really just, and it was so in alignment with the conversation around greatness, right? And I just really have been in that energy of, you know, what am I doing to infuse my day, my moments with greatness? You know, for myself, of course, and then just like what I'm creating in the world and what I'm letting others witness and experience through me. And especially from that conversation, what I'm letting my daughters experience, because I know how I live will have far greater influence on them than anything I could say, any tidbit I could pass on to them, any question I could ask them, any space I hold for them to emote, like all these things I think about with parenting that I practice and I try. I'm like, all of that is peanuts to who I'm being. And that's what I was taking from that conversation, coupled with our ongoing conversation around greatness. It's been like, at the cellular level, you guys, it's been altering for me, where it's on my mind and in me. It literally down to, I have a girlfriend visiting here right now, and she brought some chocolates from where I grew up, right? Like everything down to me reaching for the chocolate and like, is this me and my greatness right now? You know, and I've got nothing wrong with chocolate. I'm happy to eat chocolate, but in that moment, I was just like, oh, you know, I don't know if this is just a habit. Is this what I really want? Is this me being the greatest version of myself? It's been epic, y'all.
Elena, I have a quick question. Is your friend staying in Uncle Dean's cabin?
No, but I kind of want to put up a board in Uncle Dean's cabin. My parents are currently occupying your space.
Well, I'm sure they would enjoy the porch or wherever else. When I show up, it'll be fine.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, I'd love to come down and take care of the kids, and you and Jacques can go off and do whatever you guys do. I'll give you some space there.
Come on down.
And
I mean, I just want to have you here, but if you're going to babysit too,
you know,
sorry,
you got to bring the value. And Elena, to your point, I love the word that came into my head is the binary. an easy lens to go, do I eat the chocolate or not eat the chocolate? Do I do this thing or do I not do that thing? And part of this whole big trick is stopping and thinking about that, of course, right, is being present. And that's what we're trying to teach people to do or see. But just something as simple as, does this sandwich lead to my greatness or not, is kind of a really cool, almost stupid simple kind of thing. And not surprisingly, I love me some stupid simple.
Yeah, but we are able to change that. If the answer is no, we can change it to heighten the frequency and make it resonate with that. But the question is, should I do that if the chocolate is the subject,
And you might find it's like, yes, I'm honoring my friend, giving me a present, and I'm really appreciating this, and this is my greatness, and my greatness will stop at 1 and maybe eat it for 3 hours. And so I love being present with this. It's going back a little bit with your future self. What is your future self, thinking, and when you envision yourself growing and asking yourself what your greatest self decision or will do. I love that, because then it's easy. You feel amplified. You feel, oh yeah, no, like you feel powerful into taking that decision consciously instead of just by habit and rushing into the action.
But it also goes to the thing we've been talking about, is trust and faith, right? In the flow of it, you go with, you let it go. You almost abdicate your personal responsibility and give it to God, right? It's just this ease and trust that you'll end up in the right place. And it's honoring the divinity in us, the God essence in us, to just, in the conversation this morning, right? We were talking about how we were saying Jared knew, right? And it wasn't that Jared knew and was trying to, go through this, whatever. We know the thing that's right for us. We know what that greatness is, right? We don't have to define that on the spot when the chocolate shows up. It's, we know, right? And every time we affirm that knowing, right, we're strengthening that bond and elevating that voice of knowing in us. It grows to, Elena, you're talking about a cellular level. I'm getting tingles. That you talk about this cellular level, and the more we feed that thing that Jared has sprinkled upon us, this idea of finding our greatness. And Jared, I just want to say, good is taking the place of great, takes up the space of great, is, gold. But every time we do that and we know what our greatness is, we're just reaffirming that connection in such a beautiful way. It's unreal. It's amazing. Thank you for the dance, Elena. That describes it perfectly.
Take it.
Totally correct. That's totally.
And Gail, you talked about like consciously. I love that, because a lot of all this is the spotlight of awareness showing our past programming. A lot of us have gone through the programming. Well, yeah, someone gives you chocolate, you eat the chocolate. But did I want to eat the chocolate? Is this, what's the intention that I'm bringing to the chocolate?
Don't want it to go to waste.
Greatness is evolving the layers of programming that we have.
or does that chocolate want to be eaten by me?
Love chocolate. Chocolate loves you.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of enjoying some insanely good chocolate. But the problem is then the mediocre chocolate just doesn't cut the mustard anymore.
Well,
Yeah.
well, I said when just Jared and I are here is it's amazing how the contrast gets greater, doesn't it? Right. And when you're enjoying the best chocolate, suddenly, the old Hershey's bar has its place, but it's significantly different.
Yeah, its place is in the trash can.
No judgment there. It is what it is. Yeah.
Full agreement. Full agreement.
Well, I think that we talked at some point, from my rant I shared with you all about standards, right? And being able to honor that at some point when I allow myself, Jared, had this been our WhatsApp chat, someone would have quoted you. You just said something so powerful about, choosing greatness is all about our overcoming old habits or old patterns, right? And as we're allowing ourselves to be in that place, right? Is this an old habit or is this what I truly desire? The more we practice that, I feel like that's what brings clarity to our standards, right? And then at some point I own my into me a Hershey's chocolate. It's not to pick on one brand, right? But somebody gives me what I would just see as a low quality substance. I'm not even sure it's chocolate, right? And like my standard, I've practiced this, I've felt into this. I know that does not meet my standard. It is not something that I'm ever going to say yes to, and I'm okay with that. Like that's my version of greatness in that moment. Right. And I allow myself to practice to feel into it until it becomes a standard and then uphold the standards.
And I feel it links to boundaries because let's stay on the chocolate subject, their standard is lower and gives you this crappy chocolate that you refuse because your standards is there, you feel kind of like an asshole, and it's hard. And chocolate is definitely a subject for me. I'm very picky on chocolate because I worked on chocolate making in Brazil and I tasted the best of the best. And so how do you deal with this boundary on not hurting someone else, but staying in your upholding standard and saying, well, I guess it's just not for me. I eat only the $100 tiny piece of chocolate and that's what I do.
I believe the truth always can be said in a pleasant way, and what is going on when we keep our standards? The universe provides what we want. If we say no and no and no, universe starts to want to give us what we want, and if we take junk, if we take our standards, those are actually our standards, what we accept, universe just throw us the trash and says they're fine with that, they're okay with that. But if you say no, 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 you will get better and better and better and better. And when you get to the standard you want to be, just say yes, and the universe will try to get something lower again. Would you like that? No. She or he knows what she or he wants, and I will not play that game again. I will give better and better and better. And
Miro, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
In this instance, Gail's standard is to not eat bad chocolate. This works for tequila as well, by the way. But is her standard to not accept crappy chocolate, right? So, we're talking about how do we deal with someone, do we have to say, do we have to say no to this person? Can we accept it and then give it to the kids? Yeah,
it's okay. Kids would eat that. That's always okay.
They don't have standards yet.
It's dog or whatever beast you have in your house.
I mean, it's a realistic question from the idea of manifesting and what is the universe going to bring me.
You don't have to refuse that. That would probably be rude. especially towards the person you love and appreciate. But you don't have to consume that. You can repurpose that.
I'm reminded of someone in the bathtub with, what is it, strawberry, chocolate covered strawberries? What was it, Gail? In the bathtub? Your husband brought you this nice little treat?
Oh yeah, and I just left it. I felt bad. So how, you know, it's like then my kids ate it, and I could feel the sense of, oh, like, you know, I brought you this. What was it again? Like cake?
Brownie, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he brought it to me in the bathtub, and it was the cutest, you know, and I just felt that no, I don't feel like it. And yeah, but then there was disappointment, but over it, then it's also teaching the other person that standard, and you have to go through the little, maybe disappointing the other person, but you can also explain that they don't have to take it personally. It's just about you, that you just don't feel like it right
And
now.
I think it's also a great example for other people to also be able to say no to something, right? Because I think we all kind of, you know, sort of go around one another thinking, oh, I can't say this because, you know, it's not nice and this and that. And then nobody is actually being, you know, who they want to be, or is kind of doing the things they want to do, because nobody is daring saying that, right? Another thing I wanted to say about, you know, when you said, oh, how do you do that? And I find one way of phrasing it, which is quite cool, which I think is interesting, is to just say, my body doesn't want this right now. Oh. Somehow you're putting the rest, it's not, I mean, of course it's you, right? But it's also like kind of saying, and I mean, I don't mean this just sort of in a manipulative way, but I mean it as well. To me, it feels like this, like really, yes, my head might think I want chocolate, but my body is actually saying like, no. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, for example, this particular moment in the bathtub, it was a very, very strong impulse of, you know, more your body than yourself, probably, to just say, no, don't want this brownie right now. And to sort of maybe phrase it like this might sometimes make it a little bit, you know, smoother to share, right?
At the same time, though, someone is handing you what they see as their heart on a plate, right? Right. Like, I mean, she's having I will give her this thing. And that's really on us to sort of detach from the outcome and share our heart, and then whatever that person does with that. But our partners aren't always in the same space as we are, right? So, like, do we need? I don't know where that's going.
And again, we can still, you know, even if we, like, again, in that example, which I think is so great, even if Gail is saying no to the brownie, she's not saying no to her husband's care and kindness and love, and, you know, you can still receive that, and, you know, and share that the gratitude or the appreciation you have for that, without necessarily eating the brownie that's going to make you feel sick because you really don't want it at that particular moment, or that's going to make you feel a little bit wonky afterwards. So I do believe we have possibilities to do that, and, you know, of course you did that, Gail, and I get it's totally fine.
One analogy came on my mind right now regarding that question: should we refuse? And when someone gives us something that doesn't resonate with us, imagine that you are totally against alcohol because you have some kind of problem with that, allergy or sick, or your liver is not in the place or whatever, and someone from the biggest love brings you some whiskey or wine or something like that. What would you do? Drink that because of appreciation and love towards that person, or you would say, like Marie said, my body doesn't want that.
But thank you so much, and I appreciate the gesture so much. It's just that right now I cannot think that.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, in case of allergies, of course you're not going to consume it, and you're going to educate the person about why you cannot consume that, and really show back some appreciation about the action because you're really touched. That's really
yes.
I think we're talking about intention, right? What is our intention in the moment, because I feel like if our intention is to receive, right, then, you know, to receive somebody's heart doesn't mean we have to receive the brownie, like ingest the brownie, right? We get to receive their heart with appreciation and really just letting that in. You know, I can imagine like Jacques doing that for me, and me just like making eye contact with him with a heartfelt thank you, and him getting that I'm actually fully receiving him. And I don't even have to actually talk about the brownie. Like the brownie might just sit next to me while I'm in the bath, right? Versus, so if my intention is receiving, it can play out something like that. And I know unconsciously I can get into a place of like my intention is actually to get some validation, right? So my words then become, oh, I can't have that because of this reason or that reason, and what I'm really doing through all those words is I'm hoping that the other person is going to validate me, right? My intention is to get external validation. And those are two very different things, right? And so from that place of wanting their validation, I'm actually all output. I'm actually blocking my ability to be receptive and take it in.
I'm right there with you. It's the giving of the brownie and the receiving of the gift is one energy. The attachments that we have to it is all buildings. That's something else. That's the validation, the other emotional games, and that's not the universal game. The energy of, I mean, it's like, I think it's Neville Goddard that talks about, no, it's Stuart Wilde that talks about, you have to, train, you have to educate, you have to open yourself up to receive. And if you're going to walk over a penny, it's only 1 cent, but the energy of accepting and receiving the penny is the same energy as accepting, say, $1 million, a big bag of cash. And all of the attachments that we put on top of it, the judgments of it's only a penny, or the judgments of I can't eat that crap, like that is something additional that we're doing on top of it. And that's separating us from the energy of, wow, that's, you can sit there with that brownie right beside you and just be in the energy of receiving their abundance, their gift. And that part's just absolutely amazing, right?
I think it's also important to look at the giver and the energy and the stories that we put on that side, right? It's, I want to share my heart with you in this act, and that's done when I give it to you. What you do with it is yours to do, right? And it's those things we add, oh, they didn't eat the brownie, they don't love me, or they didn't appreciate it, or whatever else. The giving energy, the giving, right? We talk about receiving. There's a whole opposite side to that, and that is the giving. And the gift is in the giving, right? And then it's done. And the rest of that, Jared, to your thing, Jared, are the things we put on top of it.
This morning I had a client who had some similar question about that between her and her partner, and I said, if you do something for him and expect him to do this or that, that's not giving, that's needing. It's neediness, and you will be disappointed and insulted if he doesn't do that. But do you know why he refused or didn't react like you would like? He can be like in problem in his job, or he can think about anything else, some problem that bothers him at that moment, and you will take that as his answer. No, it's on you just to give and enjoy giving. Sometimes his answer would be perfect, sometimes it wouldn't, but it doesn't depend on you and on your energy. Stop being needy. in that I will give this to you, so you can give this what I want to myself. You know, it's bargaining. Yeah, it's bargaining.
I love you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's really explaining our needs. Like listening to this funny story that I had with my mother-in-law this week. So I have a game with the trash, recycled trash. I love piling it up until like the door, like it's kind of a game. I don't know why. I think it's glorious.
Like Tetris.
And one morning I'm like meditating in the living room and I hear like fuck, like, and like it becomes really loud. And I'm like, okay, like I need to help her. Like, I think the kitchen is inundated. Like, this is what comes up because she's like pulling buckets and it's like, and so I run, I'm like, what's going on, Dada? And she's like, the trash can. It's like, you always do that, guys. Like, and I'm just laughing at her. I'm like, oh yeah, because I love doing this. And she's like, but like, you know, and I'm like, oh, I sense you don't like to do this. You know, I'm like trying, you know, I'm like,
I don't appreciate that.
Emptying the trash. You can ask me to do it. You know, if it's something like you don't need to put yourself in, you can ask me to do it. I will gladly do it because I'm creating this mess. So I'm totally okay with the responsibility of emptying it. And she doesn't. She stays in her like super madness, and next I'm laughing. I'm like, okay, it's you decide what you want to do. Like,
yeah,
and please express your need if you want me to maybe stop or empty it. But I'm not going to change anything if you're not expressing it. So I will continue my game and.
And this is another big problem. I will let you go with that first time, second time, but that annoys me. Second time, third time, fifth time, and sixth time, I will explode, you know, like, and you will be like, what's with you, you know, like the first 5 times, everything was okay. Now you are exploding. What's with you, you know? And people who do that think that it's good. I will swallow it up. I will suck it up because I love that person. But 6th time I will explode and destroy everything, you know, and hate that person. Blah blah blah. Communicate right now in a moment what doesn't resonate with you, and get to some kind of deal with a person. So you like to do that. Okay, that's totally different perspective. I thought that you do that because you're lazy to get the trash can out, you know. And if you like to do that, it's like, I think different about that. You like that? Okay, that's perfect. You know, when that starts to bother me, I will take that trash can out or ask you to do that. But there is no need to express anger or anything, you know.
And people feel that you're going to sense it. When they're bothered, they kind of act a little off, and they're like, she's going to get it.
She knows.
And I'm like, no.
Angry walk.
Yeah, like you need to express your needs. Your attitude right now, I cannot assume that because of my action, I made you angry. I mean, yes, I'm emotionally intelligent and I can sense something, but I will force you to speak out your needs because I think it's really important.
When I talked to my teams, I used to call it big boy rules. And when I talk to adults, I say grown-up rules. And that is, you're not 4. I don't have to ask you if you're okay 1,000 times today, right? Like, you're able to communicate your wants, needs, and desires. If you have a problem the way I'm coaching, or you have another problem with how I'm stacking up the trash until it's 6 foot tall, you have the ability to communicate your issues. And this is my expectation. That is, if you have a problem, share it with, I can't know about it if you don't share it, right? And so as far as I'm concerned, life is good. But let's talk before it becomes a screaming match or something else. And so it's, to me, it's the other person is not self-authorized enough, right? Is not able to communicate their needs in a way, and is blaming the other person for their feelings and their space, and sort of sits on that rather than saying, Gail, do they not take out trash where you're from?
That's passive aggression. That's the definition of passive aggression.
Yeah.
When you need somebody, you guys, feels like one of the great differentiators. There's probably a few, but one of the great differentiators in greatness is taking our willingness to claim responsibility for our experience. When I think about someone living greatness, right, that person is willing to really be responsible. I'm responsible for my feelings. I'm responsible for my expression. I'm responsible for getting my needs met. I'm responsible for addressing mistakes that I make. You know, like, I own my life. I think that's what you're saying, Dean, around self-authorization.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I own my life. I'm responsible for the experiences that I'm having and creating.
Yeah. That chocolate did not jump in my mouth on its own.
The only responsibility I accept as something responsible is when you do something about that. Yesterday, I had a talk with a client, and she said, like, she's in a tough situation in one part of her life, and she said, I am taking the responsibility. I said, you don't, because you didn't do action to change that. She said, wow. It's like, you're not politician, you know. They just say, I'm taking the responsibility, but that doesn't mean anything, you know. If you take the responsibility, that means you took the action to change that in a wanted direction. That's responsibility.
Wow.
I feel like we haven't even really started yet today. That was all just from hello.
Yeah.
What are we going to talk about today, you guys?
Anyone has maybe like something on their heart, or like that they wanted to bring up today? They come in.
I love you guys.
I receive your love, Dean.
Thank you. At some point, I'll put it in the form of a brownie.
No sugar, no gluten.
I'll give it to my daughter. I had a question. You all can let me know if I'm just, beating a dead horse at this point, but I feel like I'm just at the beginning of this conversation around greatness. It has, as a lot of the topics you all bring to the table, just cracked something big in me. And so I was just feeling interested in hearing from all of you, like, if there's one thing you recognize, like one area, one topic, one issue, one thing that comes up that is kind of a notch out of the complete pie of greatness. Does that make sense? For example, I've really been thinking into this, right? Like, greatness, and what is my greatness, and how am I modeling greatness? And I've really recognized that, as women do, I can really fall into the habit of letting everything else come first. Right. And I know myself, like, I require solo time. Right? I require, like, to be in flow, to be connected to the divine, to have my inner wisdom speak to me. Like, I require solo time, and I have not been claiming space for that for a while. And that's what's really come to my mind of, like, if I want to be in this conversation and I really want to embody greatness, like, I get to find a way to make that happen consistently. And it actually feels so good for me to let myself see it, and to see it through that lens of, like, this is it's a It's a non-negotiable.
Mhm.
And then as I was thinking about that, I was just, oh, like, I wonder, like, all of you that I admire so much and look up to, I'm like, I wonder if there's anything like, you know, one little area that's kind of sticky like that.
For me, I have this for sure. Like, for example, my greatness, I know that when I meditate, when I read, there's like practical actions that make me fill me up so much, including coaching. And I will use this example. This Tuesday, had a coaching session that started at 5 p.m. And I know that which was like, it's really intense. And so I will come back home late. And I came back at 10 p.m. So it was like almost a 5-hour session. I didn't create enough boundaries, but we were doing so much like deep work. I just felt in my greatness that I needed to continue. And what I'm fighting with when I express fully my greatness is this past programming of, oh, I'm not really a good mom. Like, I didn't even say goodnight to the kids. I didn't even tell my husband that I was going to arrive really late. In the next morning, I was a little tired. And so I didn't help as much to help the kids get to school. And so I have all those fighting things when I express, I feel egoistic. I feel that in those moments, because I need to do my things sometimes. And I'm extremely lucky to be with Tyson that sees that. And you know, I feel like, oh, I'm so sorry, like, you know, like so guilty. And he's like, no, I'm so proud of you that like you really dedicated to your clients. And I'm like, oh, wow, thank you. And he's like, yeah, like, I'm so proud of you, meditate every day. And then it reminds me, yeah, you're right. Like, this is my greatness. But internally, it is very hard to fight this past programming where I feel so egoistic doing my own thing, you know, and spending so much time on myself.
You said some beautiful things, and your concern about people around you is so beautiful. But as I said, take the responsibility, take the action towards what you need.
Mm-hmm.
And need is not just food and water, especially for people who feel their soul. If you need to end up that session 5 hours, 10 hours, no matter how long, if you need to do that, just do that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need to be alone, yes, you be alone. Make some adjustments so you can find the time and talk with people who you love, actually, who are in your circle. So if you really want and need to be alone, you will take the time at 4 or 5 a.m. to wake up, to go out and be alone, take your time, you know. If anything else is not possible, you will do that. If this is something that will fill yourself with energy, do that first.
Mm-hmm.
How important that is, that's how you validate that.
And then I go back to, no, I did the right thing because I have so much love and energy for my family, and I'm so much bigger in what I can provide after. And so,
yes, and one more really important thing is, if you say I'm selfish, that's probably someone else telling you from your childhood or some kind of relationship. They told you if you do this or that, you will be selfish. So if I ask you do something and you don't do that, someone has to be selfish, you or me.
Mm-hmm.
So for you, it's better that you are the selfish one. You will give to yourself,
mm-hmm.
you know. And actually, if you are not being selfish and fulfill the wish or need of the other person, that person is selfish because they ask that from you.
You're not doing the thing I want you to do. You're doing what you want to do. You're selfish.
Yes. So just be selfish.
And I think that, this goes back. First of all, it's quantity versus quality, right? It's not the number of minutes you spend with a kid, right? I go back to my mother. Somebody said, are you spending, quality time with your kids? And my mother is like, what are you talking about? She said, well, you need to spend 20 minutes a day with each of your kids. And she goes, no. She goes, well, don't you believe in? No, if they need 3 hours, they get 3 hours. If they need 3 minutes, they need 3 minutes. It's the quantity, it's quality, not the quantity. And, do you want to be the example for your kids of, I go after my greatness and model that for you, right? And I want you to do the same thing, or I take time for myself so that when I'm with you, I can be totally here in my greatness with you, right? The time to meditate or be introspective or whatever else. Absolutely. I don't think there's a question here. And if we get to that place of who do I want my kids to be, how are you ever going to be selfish if that's the place you're coming from?
I want to add something that I experienced some years ago when I was doing, I did once a silent retreat. So it was a full week of just not talking and with a big group of people. And I remember one thing that I just really took away from it, which was so interesting, was the fact that because we were, encouraged not to talk to one another and not even to really sort of establish eye contact. And it was like really about, everybody to just be in their own space and experience that particular time, which was very beautiful. But the one thing that I found was very interesting is that suddenly I found myself, I was like, oh my God, because I don't really communicate with other people, I don't actually have to justify the stuff I do. So if I just sort of, walk, there was this one day where I was sort of coming back from the canteen and then going that direction, and then suddenly halfway through I was like, no, actually there was something I want to read here, or whatever. There was, I went like forward and backward, like those 10 meters on the terrace 3 times. And in normal cases, I would have felt a little bit weird about it. I would have think, I should tell somebody why I'm doing this, etc. But no, I didn't. I just did that stuff, and I didn't give a damn. It was so beautiful. And so every now and then I'd have to remind myself, it's like, what if I didn't have to justify or explain anything I do, and I just did it, and then it's totally authentic, and it's totally what is my greatness, and what is true for me right now. And that to me is an element of greatness as well.
This is so beautiful. Thank you a million times.
Yeah, it was such a silly little thing, but it was so strong. The what I got from it, it was so powerful.
Here's a question. What does greatness answer to? Right? Like if we're walking back and forth and we're great, who do we have to explain ourselves to? Who do we have to justify who and what we are to? Who do we have to justify what our version of greatness is? Isn't that just us?
We justify and we just ask for permission.
Yeah.
Actually, that's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Jared, are you in there?
He's so in there.
He's so in there. I want him to come back out here and share some of the in there.
I have a lot going through me right now.
That's different.
So two connecting lines of thought. For me, 3 words: be you now.
Mm-hmm.
And then this whole time we've been talking from almost not the beginning, but 20 minutes in, if you zoom way out, you look at humanity and the games that we play inside the games, all these programs of, well, he said, so now I'm reacting to that. And I feel like based on what I've been taught, what I've been indoctrinated with, that means I'm supposed to respond this way. And none of that stuff, none of it matters with consciousness, with our purpose, with none of that stuff is divine in that context. And I'm reminded of, I'm sure I shared the story, but I took a gram of mushrooms and went inside a float tank and absolutely had a profound experience where I completely unplugged from all of these programs that we're talking about. And when I got out of the float tank, of course, the experience was still in me, and it was like I was inside a game. I didn't know how to leave the room. I didn't know if I was supposed to shower, what clothes to put on first, what was appropriate, what wasn't. Like it was like figuring all of the very, very, very minor stuff, all these programs that we have. And I'm sitting inside I make my way to the sitting room, and all of a sudden this person appears and offers me this like
Oh,
No, you cannot leave us there. No.
What?
Hold on.
really? Seriously?
I think she offers some tea, but what happens after?
Oh my God.
Derek,
So funny. And he's in the face, he's frozen.
He's a good storyteller.
So good.
I know.
It's so
I think
good.
we all literally leaned in like, wait. Oh man.
Oh man. Oh wow.
You're there. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, where are you? Come back.
Call him in.
Phone is
Call him
probably.
back.
I think
Oh.
he is over dramatic right now. A little bit is exaggerated. Too long of a pause.
I'll make them wait. I'll make them beg for it.
He is such a showman, that guy.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So good. That's so good.
But this is so true what he said. Actually, our expectations are pretty useful, because you know what shoe goes on what foot, and you know what shoes are actually, and what and everything. But when we do over that, when we start to use that to explain other people experiences and behaviors or thoughts, or that's overdoing that, and that makes us miserable. Because what hurts more, when someone kicks you on purpose or accidentally? If you are detached from that mental shit, it's the same.
Yeah.
But people would say, he did that on purpose. That hurts even more. That hurts my heart. Come on, how do you know?
Jared
Maybe
wants to come
that
back to me, let
person
him.
considers that as something sacred or important, and did that for you as a present of his life, and you hate that. Come on.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jared. What
All
is
right.
giving
So what
you?
What did she give you?
This person give you?
Coffee?
What did this person give you? Tell us.
my phone overheated for somehow.
Yeah.
So
Somehow.
I understand.
Too much energy.
So she gave me this tea, and I'm enjoying the tea. And like, I don't know what this is. Like literally, it's hard to explain that every single thing that comes up in front of me, I have to figure out. I've never, ever experienced receiving a cup of tea from this person that I'm able to connect is another one of my bodies. Like it's hard, it's very hard to explain. And I was there with a buddy, and he starts talking a little bit, and finally I'm like, I'm not able to put words, like I can't, my mouth isn't working correctly yet. I can't talk. And then over 15, 20 minutes or so, we go to the front desk, and this human is going through, would we have a promotion going on? If you sign up for a membership, then you get 30 free unlimited floats, and basically unlimited floats for 30 days, which is a very awesome deal. And I'm like, no, thank you. And my buddy signs up, and I jump inside the truck. I have to put my home address in the GPS that somehow I was able to connect. It was there. And this one song felt perfect, and the only feeling with it was more, louder. And so I'm driving, and this van flies by me, and I'm like, wow, I'm able to connect dots that this person has a program that they're, is an urgent program. And then it takes me back to the lady that is running the desk and offering the promotion. And it becomes very humorous to watch the scene play out again, because she's running a program. Okay, this little robot comes and stands behind the counter and says, all right, the people are done floating, so now I give them my program. And that's when it hits me, and how sad it is that's humanity. Programs after programs, that the programs are teaching the programs. When you're a child, you're taught everything, how to think, how to, and I guess that's what I'm talking about with the zooming way the fuck out. And so much of this stuff that we talk about, it is a very serious, very real dichotomy, because it matters inside the context of this particular reality, but inside the context of who we are, where we're going, it's minutia that slows us down.
Well, my stand about that is that we came here in this world to experience reality in this world, and when we get out of it, it's powerful to zoom out, but with that we go from out of human experience, and we are here to do that, to be humans, to be involved in that. And we will have enough time after this life and after maybe another life and another life to go into that zoom out state. I thought a lot of that, and I just decided to be human here in this skin and flesh and bones, and to experience that as deeply and as truly as I can, because this is the level of the game that I am on, and I just want to be the best at that experience. When I zoom out in any way, it's going to be another level of the game.
I don't know totally what zoom out is, but I take it as a from either of you. I'm going to look at it as a bigger picture, or looking at it from a different place. And
yeah.
I was in a similar condition as what Jared shared. I maybe a little bit more in quantity. And I wasn't traveling anywhere, but I spent about 4 hours kind of giggling and laughing my head off and repeating every 3 seconds, it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. So much of this crap we hold on to, so much of this programming, so much of the needs and the angst and the struggle and the what just doesn't fucking matter, right? We call a shoe because we've decided to call it a shoe. It doesn't matter what we call it. It's a thing. We have the thing and then the story we create. And any of those stories don't matter. I have a phrase, it's a line in the sand. Right? When somebody says, I can't put up with that, that's nothing but a line in the sand, right? I mean, it may be our standards to greatness, but reality is we can draw the line at, I'm happy to eat this kind of chocolate, or I only accept this kind of chocolate. Either one of them is a line in the sand. It's gone. And so when that's the reality we're living in, that it's so mutable. It's not immutable. It's the opposite of that. Mutable, is that the right thing? It's so transitory and so malleable. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It does. And when you start looking at all of the shit that we worry about that just doesn't matter, it is liberating. Thank you, Jared. Thank you for zooming wherever you zoomed.
I think what matters is keeping the stories that are useful to us, the stories attached to the things that makes us deeply happy and content, and recreating the stories to our full freedom is what matters. And if we feel that it's like, yeah, the story is really making me feel crap or like guilty, or then it's like, okay, let's change it.
Fly the freak flag.
Just to piggyback onto that, it's so interesting to think in terms of just how complex and how simple it all is all at the same time, right? It doesn't matter. Yet we've had plenty of interaction with each other around contrast, which means it all matters. Mm-hmm. And what you're making me think is that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter so much that it's worth us holding on to any of it as if it matters so much. Yet it matters so much because it's all guidance, right? And so when we can acknowledge, when we can appreciate, right? Like what did Jared said a while ago, hardship is abundance. Mm-hmm. Right. And the hardships that we've experienced, they don't matter. Like we don't have to hold on to them. We don't have to keep that as our story. Right? We don't hold on to that. Yet we can appreciate it that all of that really mattered because that became the guidepost for where we are now or where we're going.
And to Mira's point, when he said, I want to be human, I want to have this human experience, I think the it doesn't matter contrast thing that you're saying, Elena, is sort of standing in both places, right? It's looking at that divinity and saying these things ultimately don't matter, but in my human experience, if I let something go, I'm still human. And so yes, the contrast of this versus the needy person that's whining in my ear, yeah, it doesn't matter, but at the same time, there's that contrast to it. And I think it's transcending and I refer to it as, I mean, I'm not the only one, the human condition, right? It's getting out, it's that evolutionary stage of, instead of living in the struggle of our ego, we let go all of these stories and can transcend that. So that's magical, I think. Appreciate seeing that.
The episode should be named Chocolate and Mushrooms, just saying.
Perfect.
Never enough of those.
But good chocolate.
I was going to say, good chocolate. Good chocolate in high quantities of mushrooms. You all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another powerful one.
Love you all, guys.
It's going
Bye.
to be a long 7 days.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.